You're out of place.
When I met Megan again after a few years, she laughed at me, mocking me just like she used to. But Megan, who only knows the old me, has no idea how much I've struggled. Jason, the head of sales at the trading company that's my factory's biggest client, also mocked me while looking down on me. Megan, noticing me talking to Jason, joined in mocking me. These two, mocking me in a place where I don't know anyone and don't know my way around. What do they know about me? George told me to be respectful because this was an important gathering of clients. But being treated rudely, I'm unsure how to respond. Anyway, despite their importance, this client is no longer viable. I've exchanged business cards with various companies today, so there's no issue for future business. The real problem is these two who mocked me. As they say, regret comes too late. If they understood what kind of work I do and our mutual relationship, they wouldn't act so foolishly. In the end, that one comment would lead to their downfall, but by the time these two realized it, it was too late. My name is Eric Williams. At 32, I'm living a very ordinary life, unlike my past. Growing up in a single-parent household, I was raised in a very poor environment. To avoid burdening my mother, who worked late every night, I not only studied, but also took care of everything around the house. The person who helped me the most was a neighborhood factory owner, George Morgan. George, who was old enough to be my grandfather, was always kind and took care of me like a father. Rather than financial support, he helped me with my studies and played with me. Thanks to George, I never felt lonely during that time. When I wanted to repay George somehow, I heard he was worried about not having a successor. I begged George to let me take over the factory. With George staying on as chairman, my new life as a rookie president began. Although I'm still learning, I enjoy and am grateful for everything George teaches me about management and dealing with clients. Initially, I acted on impulse, but now, even though I have doubts about my role as the factory head, I have no regrets. Since becoming president, there have been times when I lacked confidence in my work. During such times, George always encouraged me. My inability to push forward is due to a painful high school experience. In my senior year back then, I finally became a regular player in rugby, a sport I loved. However, I couldn't perform well in the official game I played. Megan Barkley, who was the manager back then, gave me a hard time.
How did you even make the regulars? Even being a substitute was a big promotion, so don't drag the team down in the game.
Classmate Megan would mock me at every opportunity. Indeed, I had no outstanding qualities, not in height, physique, or ability as a player. Still, I gave my all in the game. In our last high school match, we lost in the district tournament finals. While the team was grieving the loss, Megan publicly blamed me in front of everyone.
It's practically your fault we lost. Everyone worked hard, but you're just not cut out to be in the spotlight.
Even though she didn't have to say it, my regret remains a deep scar. After graduating high school, I managed to attend college on a scholarship. George, knowing my financial struggles, hired me as a part-time worker. While I only knew the kind George, he was strict and never cut corners at work. Thanks to his diligence, we constantly received orders from big companies, keeping us busy. After college, I wanted to help George and secured a job at a trading company that had substantial contracts with his factory. My main motivation was to repay George, even if indirectly. Soon after starting, I was amazed to find that half of the products handled by the trading company used parts made at George's factory. But as George, now over 70, struggled to keep up with the workload, and with no successor in sight, I heard he was considering closing the factory. Unable to sit still, I made a direct request to George. "George, please let me take over this factory."
Hey, I don't want to burden you with such hardships.
"Let me protect what you've built, George." Moved by my enthusiasm, George smiled and decided to hand over the factory to me. Shortly after taking over, I received an impossible order from a client. Troubled by the unreasonable request, I consulted George, who said that since they were the factory's top client, we had to accept it.
We've had a long relationship with them and they've helped us a lot. It's tough, but it's our job, so we'll do our best.
Seeing George take on the job without complaint, I reluctantly agreed to take it. When the order form arrived a few days later, I was shocked and reviewed it multiple times. It had Megan Barkley's name as the contact person. At first, I thought it might be someone with the same name, but the voice from the arrogant phone call was definitely Megan Barkley. After nearly 10 years, her attitude was still the same, leaving me sighing in disbelief. After managing to complete the delivery successfully, George handed me an envelope. "George, what's this?"
It's an invitation to our annual reception. It's a New Year's party combined with a networking event where various companies, including our clients and subcontractors, gather.
I didn't know we had such events.
You're the new president of the company now, so make sure to show your face. It's also a chance to increase your client base, so do your best as president.
With George's encouragement, I attended the reception, feeling nervous. Wearing a suit for the first time in a while, I felt a bit out of place compared to my usual work attire. Despite my position as president, I wondered if I could mingle with such important people. I was also anxious about how well known the rebranding of the factory I inherited from George was. While we had sent postcards to inform clients about the change in the company name and president, it wasn't widely known in the industry. So, my goal was to distribute as many business cards as possible and secure new clients. On the day of the reception, I focused on networking, barely touching the food due to my nervousness. As the event was nearing its end, I realized I hadn't greeted the company where Megan worked, which was said to be our top client. In a panic, I asked someone nearby and managed to find their head of sales. "Excuse me for interrupting. My name is Eric Williams from the factory that does subcontracting for you. I look forward to working with you." Although I raised my voice a bit, I felt relieved to have introduced myself. However, Jason, the head of sales, looked at me with disdain while holding my business card.
"A president at your age? Must be a joke. You must be just a new company that can't produce anything decent. So go home, subcontractor. Know your place before you approach me."
He threw my business card on the floor and laughed. Next to him, a woman also mocked me with a condescending look.
You're really out of place. If you want to subcontract for my company, come back after you've made some decent achievements.
Upon closer inspection, I realized the woman was Megan Barkley, but she didn't even look at me. I couldn't believe this was George's top client, and my shoulders slumped. Seeing the same arrogant treatment toward others who seemed to be subcontractors, anger welled up inside me. Looking down on other companies and acting superior, these two had no one approaching them for business. In fact, they seemed somewhat isolated, exuding an out-of-place vibe. "I see. I understand. I'll leave now."
Oh, he's leaving. Instead of drinking here, go work hard for us.
Suppressing my frustration, I left the reception without waiting for the closing remarks. As I hurried away, a woman called out to me.
Eric, I'm sorry about earlier.
Hearing a familiar voice, I turned around to see Laura Barkley, my college junior, standing there sadly. I met Laura at a college party organized by friends. Because we got along well, we hung out a few times, but we never dated, and now that I'm busy with work, we've completely lost touch. It was a complete surprise to meet her again after so many years, and in such an unexpected place.
Eric, I'm really sorry for my sister's rude behavior earlier.
Your sister? Who are you talking about?
Megan is my sister, and we both work at our family company, Barkley Trading.
Now that I think about it, Megan and Laura have the same last name, but I never realized they were sisters. They don't look very similar, and their personalities are completely opposite. It turns out that the company George mentioned as our top client is Barkley Trading. I'd heard that Megan was a company president's daughter, but I didn't know it was Barkley Trading. The dots I didn't know connected into a straight line. That day, after a brief chat with Laura about old times, I went home still feeling uneasy. The next day, I asked George if we should continue doing business with Barkley Trading. I told him about Jason and Megan's overly rude attitude toward subcontractors and how they were isolated at the reception. George, looking troubled, listened to my concerns about the risks of continuing our dealings with Barkley Trading. He sighed deeply, looking resigned.
I see. I understand. You're the president now, Eric. It might be time to make a decision for the employees' sake.
After preparing the paperwork to end our business with Barkley Trading, I contacted Jason. For some reason, Megan answered the phone but still didn't seem to recognize me.
Who are you? Who do you think you are? Subcontractors are a dime a dozen, so don't act all high and mighty. I don't care what company you're from, we don't need you.
She hung up angrily, and within a few days, we received formal paperwork from Barkley Trading terminating our contract. Somehow, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Afterward, I reached out to companies I had spoken with at the reception as the new president. Many of these companies, recognizing George's accomplishments, were unexpectedly receptive to new business. One day, as I was heading to a meeting with a new client, an unfamiliar elderly man burst into the factory, looking frantic.
Please, just hear me out. I beg you.
Out of breath, he handed me some documents, looking pale. As I tried to calm him down, I noticed Megan standing behind him, looking annoyed. Confused about why she was here, I waited for her to speak, and she suddenly apologized to me.
Oh, sorry about that. Is this good enough, Grandpa?
How many times have I told you not to call me Grandpa now that you're an employee? And what is with that attitude? Get it together.
It was obvious Megan's apology was reluctant and insincere, which the man scolded her for in a whisper. Wondering why Megan was acting this way, George came out to check on me.
Eric? What's going on?
The moment George saw the man's face, he looked more surprised than I had ever seen.
Charles. What brings you here?
With George addressing him as Charles and seeing Megan there, the dots in my head finally connected. This man was the chairman of Barkley Trading and Megan's grandfather. George had mentioned a long-standing relationship with Charles. However, recent bad rumors about Barkley Trading after the change in leadership were well known in the industry, and it seemed the chairman was troubled by this too. Hearing that George was also considering pulling back from subcontracting due to the leadership change, Charles had taken action himself. The documents I received clearly showed how much George's factory had contributed as a subcontractor, with numbers and graphs. It was evident that the key products of Barclay Trading, their lifeline, couldn't be made without the parts from this factory. When George and I told Charles that our business was over, he turned pale and started yelling at Megan.
It's because of your attitude that the company is in trouble. Do you understand? If you do, apologize sincerely.
Charles's voice, now booming, echoed outside the factory. Even Megan seemed scared of his genuine anger, and with tears streaming down her face, she began apologizing to me.
I am truly sorry.
Charles explained that their behavior at the recent reception had been so bad that subcontractors were refusing to work with them. This led to a situation where they couldn't even fulfill their current orders. Jason and Megan were going around apologizing, but their insincere attitude caused subcontractors to terminate contracts one after another. Of course, with my factory, their biggest contributor, pulling out, the company was in a dire situation. As a last resort, Charles came personally to beg to avoid bankruptcy. I apologize for the trouble, but I received a formal notice saying you don't need us and that our contract termination was accepted. Moreover, I have upcoming meetings with new clients, so I must ask you to leave for today. Beside the pleading Charles, a pale Megan stood frozen in shock and tears. Since Barclay Trading was the one who terminated the contract, there was nothing more I could do. I saw Charles out and rushed to my meeting with a new client. A week after successfully negotiating with new clients, a man who introduced himself as the president of Barclay Trading visited the factory with Megan. This man, Trevor Barclay, Megan and Laura's father and president of Barclay Trading, continuously apologized to me, the new president. Megan, standing beside him, also apologized to me, and I couldn't help but feel guilty, but it was too late to change anything.
Could we possibly renew our contract?
Even if you ask, it was Barclay Trading that sent the formal termination letter. We considered continuing the business, but we were immediately and firmly rejected. I had contacted Jason several times to confirm the contract termination notice from Barclay Trading. However, his response was consistently dismissive, and he hung up quickly each time. So, even if you ask to renew the contract, there's nothing we can do. Besides, I'm currently swamped with meetings and negotiations with new clients. Understanding the crisis this time, both Trevor and Megan repeatedly pleaded with me for a renewed contract while apologizing deeply. Feeling sorry for them, I thought about renewing the contract, but we were already at full capacity with new agreements. Hearing this, the two left, shoulders slumped. A few days later, I had plans to meet with Laura. Since reconnecting, we've gone out for meals several times. Are you okay with the company going through such tough times?
Yes, spending time with you helps me feel better.
Every time we met, Laura confided in me about her family's and company's troubles. I wanted to help, but I was already overwhelmed, and I felt guilty for not being able to support her. From what Laura told me, Megan was spoiled by their father. Being the company president's daughter seemed to have made her arrogant, and she treated everyone, including her sister, poorly. Laura, who was favored by their grandfather, was often bullied by Megan. Now, as an employee, Megan acted like a queen, looking down on everyone, both inside and outside the company. Such behavior had led the company to the brink of collapse. After Laura asked if there was any way to help, I thought long and hard and finally told her that I might be able to handle half the previous order volume. From the next day, my factory was busier than ever, running at full capacity, and I joined in the work as a craftsman. While it was tough on everyone at the factory, we managed to meet the deadlines for both our other clients and Barclay Trading. When I reported the preparation completion to Laura, she informed me that things were chaotic inside Barclay Trading. It turned out that the married sales manager, Jason, and the president's daughter, Megan, were revealed to be in a romantic relationship, causing an uproar within the company. To make matters worse, Trevor was exposed for embezzlement and other misconduct, putting the company on the brink of bankruptcy. In response, Charles decided to return as president. He had originally wanted Laura to be president, but her age and inexperience, coupled with the timing, made it impossible. Trevor was taken away by the police, and Jason was fired. With nowhere else to go, Megan was taken in by a subcontractor she had often belittled. Although Megan left cursing everyone until the end, considering her actions, this outcome was relatively lenient. Thrown out of her home, Megan experienced extreme poverty for the first time in her life. Living alone in a small, cheap apartment, she complained constantly. With Charles back and Jason and Megan gone, subcontractors slowly started working with Barclay Trading again. While my factory couldn't match the previous delivery volumes, we continued to supply them. Laura, who had been deeply troubled by Megan's situation, had since regained her spirits. The surprising reason was that Megan seemed to be doing well at the subcontractor company. Despite her usual attitude, she became popular as an adorable character among the staff, who treated her like a small child. Megan, enjoying her new role, even began proposing various ideas. Although most were impractical, some led to small, unexpected successes. When Laura and I visited her after some time, she was working happily, without the glamorous aura she once had, but with a healthier, more genuine smile.
Oh, it's been a while. Thanks to you, I'm enjoying this job and finding it rewarding.
As Megan spoke, she was surrounded by overly enthusiastic male colleagues acting like her entourage. Laura and I left with mixed feelings and a wry smile. A few years later, I had grown into my role as president, successfully expanding the factory. I still had much to learn from George, realizing every day was a learning experience. With Megan's situation settled, Laura and I naturally started dating. Given George and Charles's long-standing friendship, they blessed our relationship. After several years of dating, Laura and I began to think about marriage. Megan's case taught me the importance of the right person in the right place. With this lesson in mind, Laura and I strived to become fitting leaders for our respective companies.